Welcome back to the Fab Automotive Detailing channel. This is going to be a repair video. I said in my very first video that I'm a mechanic full-time. I'm not a detailer full-time. That's just more of a hobby, something I do on the weekends for friends or family. But I am a mechanic full-time. So what I want to do is I want to bring you along as I put some brake pads on my truck. This is a 98 Dodge Dakota and it needs front brake pads. They're not wore out, but they are dusting my wheels really, really bad. And I bought them from AutoZone. So what they did is they warranted me ones with a set that is a higher compound of ceramic. They're not supposed to dust as much because my wheels are almost turning black well before I actually need to wash the vehicle. Within just a few days they're turning black. So AutoZone did me a solid. They warranted them and gave me hopefully a better brake pad. So I'm going to show you how I do brake pads, or actually how brake pads are done in general. This vehicle here does not have caliper brackets that are removable. Your vehicle might, but at least you'll kind of get the idea of how to do brakes on your own vehicle. So let's do it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, obviously, when you're doing brakes is you want to take the wheel off. But when you have the wheel off the ground, that's a great opportunity to check your tie rod ends, see if they're loose. Go back and forth, side to side. And it's a good time to check your wheel bearings as well. So just grab top and bottom of the wheel, move them back and forth, make sure you don't feel any play. So now we're going to get the wheel off here. Every car is different, but you get the idea when you watch this. Might be a little loud. And you're going to want to move the wheel on the other side so you can get access to your caliper. The easiest way to do it is use the other wheel. So first thing you want to do is you want to remove the bolts that hold the caliper on to the caliper bracket if you have a bracket, but like I said, this one does not. This is all made onto the knuckle. We're going to just remove this caliper off of here. So I need I think it's a 7mm Allen. I was not prepared, obviously. I'll be right back. Turn this light up so hopefully you guys can see better. It's gonna be a little bright in my eyes, but yep, 7mm. And you don't want to take these out with an air tool. Always try to do these by hand anytime you do these caliper brackets. They can be tight. And don't take one out until you get both of them loose. And now that they're both loose, just remove them by hand. That one's loose. That one's loose. So what I like to do is I like to grab a screwdriver, get in behind this hole in the caliper, if you have that on your caliper, where you can actually grab a hold of that rotor just a little bit, not a lot. Just push that piston in just a little bit. That'll allow you to free it up enough. These are kind of rusted on. Hopefully let you free it up enough to get it off of there. And you'll notice on these brakes, at least on this Dodge, that this bracket right here has to get in there. That's actually the anti-rattle bracket. Apparently I didn't get this bolt all the way out of the back here. There, now it should come out. And like that, the caliper's off. So then what you want to do from here, you're going to want to remove the brake pads out of the caliper. This one has these brackets right here that hold the outer brake pad on. This is the anti-rattle clip right here. but these are the brackets to hold it on. If you have these on your brakes, the easiest thing to do, if you're not going to be reusing them, just bend them out of the way. Take that pad off, the outer pad, and we're going to take the inner pad off. And if at this point, if you're going to be removing the rotor, you can just take the rotor right off. I'm going to be reusing the rotors. They're not warped or anything. I know they're about 2 years old, I think. But if the rotor does not stay flat against the hub, you can put a lug nut back on, because otherwise it's going to be hard to put your brake pads back on. Put it down, now it's nice and flat. So then now what you want to do, really wish I could get you guys in closer. This piston needs to go all the way in order to fit brand new brake pads on it. There's different ways to do it. I use this tool right here, made by Powerbuilt. It's a ratcheting type. And because you don't want to get in there with channel locks and just press that piston in, because you're probably going to break it and it's going to leak brake fluid. You need to make sure you do it correctly. And I'll probably do this backwards now that I'm on camera. There we go, it was locked down. This is a great little tool. I don't know how I went without it for so long. I've only had it about 6 months or so. But it ratchets and it makes it so much easier to push this piston back in. I mean, it's pretty much effortless. You just twist and twist. That's it. Just take it back the opposite way. Piston's all the way back in. Then we get the brake pads out and we'll go from there. Now on these caliper brackets, what you want to do is you want to get in here with a wire brush and you want to clean up where the brake pads are going to be contacting. If it's really, really rusty, your brake pads, one, they're not going to fit on correctly, and two, it can actually hang that pad up and keep it touching on your rotor. And you don't want that, because next thing you know, you're going to need pads and rotors, and it's going to be getting really, really hot over here. So you can use just a normal brush. I have air. If you don't have air, you can use just a normal brush. But I like to take a wire brush like this. And that's good enough. As long as you get that good surface rust off of there, we're going to be putting a lubricant on there anyways. It'll slide just fine. So here's my new brake pads that I got, Duralast Gold. And I'm not a big fan of AutoZone brake pads, but everywhere else I have looked, on this two-wheel drive Dodge Dakota, every time I ordered ceramics, they weren't set up like this. They must have been for four-wheel drive ceramics only, because they didn't have the rattle clips on them, and so they didn't fit. So I had to order these Duralast. AutoZone's the only place I could actually find that had these brake pads in ceramic that also had my rattle clip. Now I've jumped a little quick here. That's not the right brake pad. You remember that rattle clip goes on the bottom. So this right here is where that brake pad's going to go. Now on brake pads, the reason you get squealing brakes is when the caliper is rubbing on this backing plate. That's actually what causes a brake squeal. It's not typically not going to be your pad touching the surface of the rotor. It's right here. So what you want to do is you want to lube up anywhere that caliper is going to be touching that pad. It doesn't take a lot of grease. This is just ceramic brake pad grease is all it is. Now on this model here, on this truck, these little 3 prongs are actually what hold this onto the brake caliper. And just make sure you don't put it in backwards. Make sure you put it in correctly. You're just going to push them in. Simple as that. And then once it's in, I put some grease up here, right where they're going to be sliding on the caliper bracket. Just put some grease in here. And that one's good. And then the outer pad, which on this truck is sometimes can be a pain to get on. I go ahead and I put grease on the inside of the caliper right here before I put the pad on. That way you know, because this is the majority where your noise is going to come from if you're having brake noise at all. Just get a fair amount of lubricant on there. It doesn't have to be a ton. Just like that. I don't know if the camera can pick that up or not, but it's not a ton of grease. And then I go ahead and I put just a little bit. It's not a lot. Just a little bit on both sides. That way I know that I'm getting grease on these brake pads. Just like this. And you're going to take your brake pad. You're just going to push it in. It should like almost snap in. Maybe. There we go. Here, that snapped in place. That brake pad's not going to go anywhere. And then the last thing you really want to lube is where your brake pads are going to be sliding. So we're just going to get some right on here. You don't want to get this on your rotor, but if you do, just take a little bit of brake clean or even carburetor cleaner and just get it off the rotor. But it's not a big deal if you get it on there. First time you brake and get them hot, it's gonna be gone anyways. And then now you're ready to put it back on. And on this truck, with that clip on there, you want to make sure you get that clip right inside here before you push on the top. And that's it. It's ready to go. It's ready to have the bolts put back in it. So on the back of the caliper, those first bolts that we took out at the very beginning of the video, you need to make sure that those are lubed up really, really well. So let me see if I can get one out of here. On this truck, these are what they look like. These are what the calipers actually, hopefully that'll focus in, this is what the calipers actually slide back and forth on, because it's very important that your calipers are able to freely move when you put it all the way back together. So we're going to use the exact same grease as we did on the brakes, on the brake pads themselves. Not a lot, just enough to get it to slide. That's all you really need. And it goes into just like a little rubber bushing back here. So make sure you put it back in there. And then what we're going to do, we're going to tighten these pins down. And you want to make sure when you start these in, you start them in straight. I know from experience, I got in a rush one time on a different vehicle, and I just hurried up and put them in real quick, and I put one in sideways, and that created a headache. It was fixable, but it created a headache for me. Just make sure that you get them started in straight. You don't want to put any Loctite or anything like that on these. There's no need for Loctite on these. Just get them, snug them up real good, they'll be fine. See, that's where it stopped, and then I just kind of, that's it. That's all there is to it. Now what you want to do, make sure that your caliper slides freely. You see this? See how it's moving? It slides in and out real easy. I'm moving my whole body here. Then we're gonna basically put the wheel back on. I'm gonna move you guys back just a little bit. Take this lug nut off that I put on. You can see, I'm hoping the camera will show how dirty these wheels are. The driver's side's even worse. I mean, they are filthy, and that's brake dust. That's all that is. That's the reason I'm changing the brake pads on it. When you put your wheel back on, make sure you don't, tighten this one, go in a circle. You want to go in a star pattern. I like to push the wheel all the way up against it so I know the wheel is flat, the back of the wheel is flat against the face of the hub. And I start 1 inch, just enough to hold it, and then you can let go. And just go in a star path. See, I'm getting in a big hurry in this video. I didn't even get my torque stick out, which only lets you go to about 80 foot-pounds. This one right here is made by Snap-on, and it's blue. That's how they're color coordinated, they're differentiated by color. And this one is 80 foot-pounds. I don't know if I can pick that up on the camera or not. 80 foot-pounds. So that way, when I lower the vehicle down, I can torque them. That's what we'll do right now to wrap this video up. Adjust this down so you guys can see, hopefully. I torque pretty much all cars to 90 foot-pounds. And then once I do that initial torque, I know I got all the lug nuts. I go around and just make sure. That's kind of anal probably, but that's just the way that I do it. And it's very important that you torque the lug nuts after you do brakes, because if you run these in with an impact, let's say you put this one at 110 foot-pounds with an impact without checking with that torque wrench, and you only put this one at 80, and you put this one at 90, when that rotor gets really hot the first time, you have a lot of torque on this portion of the rotor and not very much torque on this portion. This side of the rotor, it's going to warp right here on this rotor. I mean, that's what it's going to do. It's going to warp. So what you want to do is you want to make sure they are all even. Like I said, I put mine all at 90 foot-pounds. Then all we're going to do, and this cap actually says valve stem, so I know it faces right here like that. We're done. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all there is to it when it comes to doing brakes. They're actually really easy. It's something you can do on your own at home. One thing I do need to mention though, since this truck is a little bit different than a car that has removable caliper brackets. If you have removable caliper brackets, you're going to have these little slides right here. This is actually what the brake pads go into. When you remove these off of the caliper bracket, you're going to want to get all the rust off that caliper bracket, because when you put these back on, if that rust is really built up and you put a brand new bracket on there, brand new slide on there, and you go to put your new pads in, it's not going to go in. It's going to frustrate you because you can't get the pads to go back in here. So clean them up really well, and you shouldn't have any issue. In fact, put some grease on that caliper bracket where this mounts, where this goes in, and then make sure you grease these up really good so that the pads will easily slide. Put my words together there. So I also wanted to show that before I ended this video. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe to the channel. I know that this is not a detailing video, but I wanted to show a repair video. I want to do more repair videos in the future. So thank you for watching and have a good day.